Kings Island in Mason, Ohio is one of the best theme parks in the world and offers a nice collection of roller coasters. However, there are still a few things the park can do to improve. Starting off with the biggest thing Kings Island needs to do. This is something the park has needed to do since Cedar Fair took over in 2006. That being redoing the Action Zone area of the park. This area of the park has not made sense over Cedar Fair's time, so it's time to make a lot of changes to the area. Starting off with removing some of the rides in the area, including Drop Tower, Congo Falls, and the Bat, with them replacing Drop Tower with a more modern Drop Tower from Intamin, which will help make the ride last longer and bring a more modern feel to the ride. Then you can replace Congo Falls with an Intamin Ultra Surf. Now normally I would go with the Mach Power Splash in this area, but with the Intamin Drop Tower I think they could work out a deal for a lower cost. And this is not the last Intamin going into the area, because they will replace the Bat with an Intamin Blitz. They'll move into the plot behind Banty to open up more space for the coaster. Now you may be saying, I thought Cedar Fair and Intamin no longer work together, and that's been true for over 10 years, but a park can still request to work with a manufacturer. And if Cedar Fair believes that they can make the coaster work at its best, they may give the park a chance to prove it, and there's no better park to give Intamin another chance at than Kings Island, because they offer some of the most reliable rides out there, and their maintenance team is ready to take on the challenge. So if any park in the Cedar Fair chain would get an Intamin ride, it's Kings Island. Now what theme would this area of the park offer? And for this I have two ideas. One is using the brand you gain from Six Flags and making this a DC themed area, with the rides like Banshee becoming Bizarro, because he matches the color scheme it has now. And Vertigo will become Flash's Vertical Velocity, Delirium will become Harley Quinn's Whip, and the new rides being Joker's Drop of Doom, Superman Krypton Blast, finally for the Ultra Surf Wheel, Aquaman Power Wave. Now, most of these are common Six Flags names, but there are not many good names for the characters that fit these rides. Now to a more original idea, that being a haunted forest area. Banty would stay the same, the Intamin Bliss would become Wicked Woods, the Drop Tower would be the Bat Drop of Doom, then the Intamin Ultra Surf would be the Haunted Sea, and Vertigo would become Black Mamba, and finally Delirium would become Cobra's Curse. This area would also use the Blackout Building for an all-year haunted house, which would be more for families than the ones you see for Haunt, but would still be fun for all ages, and would have a more of a focus on screens and lights over using many actors to keep costs low. Both these ideas would help Action Zone fit into the rest of the park and help it feel less outdated than the version we have now. Now to some of Kings Island's other needs that are less important than making Action Zone into a modern area, but they are still important, with the first one being replacing Vortex, which could happen before the Action Zone the re-theme. I just feel the Action Zone area of the park needs more than Coney Mall or Rivertown. This would probably happen 5 or 6 years after all the work in Action Zone, or 10 to 11 years after the removal of Vortex, which seems like a long time to wait, and it is, but don't forget Kings Island did not want to remove Vortex in 2019, and probably planned to remove it closer to today, but something went wrong, so here we are. And this plot of land is so large, Kings Island can basically do anything they want with it. But here's my favorites to replace Vortex, starting off with the Vekoma Tilt Coaster. As of right now, none of these have opened in the US, and only one is planned, with that one going to Cotland, which is all the way in Texas, so Kings Island would still have some amazing marketing with the coaster. And they can also make it the world's tallest tilt coaster, and could even go over the 200-foot mark, not to mention that Cedar Point does not offer anything like this, so they could build it without fear of overshadowing something at Cedar Point. Now my next pick is the worst coaster model that they could put into this area, a B&M dive coaster, which are loved by the general public and can run through people, so Kings Island could have a huge return on investment if they go with a smaller dive at about 150 to 170 foot. Also, going smaller than Valribbon means you will not overshadow that coaster. Now the final coasters, which are both from RMC, one being a smaller 150 foot to 180 foot RMC that will not top Steel Vengeance, but will give Kings Island one of their best coasters and give them one of the best 1-2 punches with their Intamin Blitz coaster over an Action Zone and their all new RMC. Now to another RMC, this one being an RMC version of Son of Beast, putting Son of Beast next to the father like it should have been from the start. This coaster would run out into the woods towards the Beast and give Kings Island the world's tallest and fastest RMC at 218 feet and probably about 81 miles an hour. Now this coaster would give Kings Island the world's best 1-2 punch with their Intamin Blitz and RMC Son of Beast, putting Kings Island in the conversation as the world's best theme park, would help bring people in from all over the world. Now we will be heading back to Action Zone. All of you probably thought I forgot about Vertigo. No, I have big plans for the coaster. This coaster has well overstayed its welcome at the park, so it's time we remove it for a new front gate. This has been much needed at the park for some time now, because the current one just looks outdated and needs an upgrade. This entrance will connect to the current entrance path and use a lamp located in front of Invertigo to build it as well. This entrance will lead you into the most popular area of the park, the all-new Action Zone, and help push people into that area, which we will come back to a little later. But first, let's look at another area of the park, this being the Rivertown area of the park, and more specifically the location of the Tomb Raider building, or Kings Island's biggest eyesore. This building has sat in Rivertown since 2002 and has not offered a ride since 2011, and has only been used for a haunted maze, so it's time to remove the building and add some new rides to the area, because one thing Kings Island lacks is new modern flat rides. So we use this area of the park for a Zamperla Nebulous and a Zamperla Air Race, giving Kings Island 2 new modern flat rides, and also another flat ride that goes upside down, which is something the park lacks. Now that we have filled most of the park's needs, it's time to make some smaller changes to the park, like retracking their wooden coasters, like the Beast and Racer, to keep them smooth. This could just be wooden retracts, or using some steel track on the coasters, like RMC's 208 or DCI's Time Track. Now to the final step of improving Kings Island, and this only happens if Kings Island follows the exact ideas mentioned earlier in the video, as those ideas would turn Kings Island into a park people travel from all over the world to visit. So they must build an on-site hotel, which could go into the park or just a few miles away from the park, somewhere to Cedar Point or closer to the water park area of the park, because it will give you easier access to the road near the park than if you try to put it closer to the main park. This would really help push Kings Island into the best theme park conversation. What changes would you make to Kings Island over the next 10 to 15 years to help improve it? Bye guys, see you all next time.